What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Matthew Putterman. I am here with my MMA news. I'm alongside Derek Holly from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Derek, how you doing today, man?
Good, good. Just another slow day in the quarantine life.
How's your Memorial Day going? I do appreciate you taking the time, especially on this day. Before anything, I'd just like to thank all the military people that have done this for us, that fight for our country. We thank you guys a lot for that. That's how I start. But how's your Memorial Day going so far?
It's good. I've worked in the hospitality industry my entire career.
Okay.
This is the only situation for which I've had a Memorial Day off.
Oh, wow.
Because I've worked in hotels and stuff. So, unfortunately, I'm not, by water somewhere, which would be nice. But, or with my family. I didn't even think about that when I was having this weekend off.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you can't travel. I'm not from Albuquerque, so. And then my brother's in the military. I have a lot of military in my family, so he's actually overseas right now. And I believe, he had some issues the other day where his base got attacked, but we are, praying for him. He's all right, thank goodness. But yeah, it is kind of, a special day for me, as far as remembering veterans and things like that with my family that has been in the military.
That's awesome, man. Well, we do thank him as well, and everyone else that does that, fights for us and our country. We always are back in the military people, so it's great that we can honor them on this day. It's a beautiful thing for sure, and God bless them for sure.
Mm.
But I want to talk a little bit about yourself. I mean, for people that don't know you out here, could you just give a little backstory on just your history, how you got into fighting, kind of, and just general just basis about yourself?
Yeah. So, I wrestled throughout high school and college. It was funny because I was just thinking about this, but like Michael Jordan, I got cut from my 8th grade basketball team. So from that point on, it changed my career. So I decided to wrestle, and just started fighting naturally. One of my coach's friends was a probation officer, and he was a corrections officer, and he was an MMA fighter, and he asked for help in wrestling, brought him in to work with me. He was a heavyweight. I was a heavyweight at the time, about 240, 250, and worked with him. So that's how I got introduced, and since then it's just I've been hooked along the mental game of it. Rest through college, kind of fought while I was in college, decided to pursue MMA over wrestling. Had a very successful amateur career, lots of finishes, turned a pro when I was 19, real young. Ended up taking a couple of back-to-back losses and stopped for 5 years to put my life together. I had to be responsible with things that I wasn't being responsible with, and get my life back on track, and did that. And 5 years after that happened, I realized something was missing in my life. So I had to fight again. Fought 4 times since I've been back, and I haven't lost. So on a 4-fight unbeaten streak, kind of looking to turn the corner right now into the bigger and better shows.
That's awesome. I see that. I believe my boss is telling me you're training at Albuquerque. You're training at Jackson Wink.
Yeah, so I moved here in October from St. Louis, Missouri, and so we had gotten a call from Bellator with some pretty big fight offers, and this was kind of my this is it moment. And so I made a decision to quit my job and come down here to Albuquerque, train at Jackson Wink MMA Academy. GSP is kind of one of my heroes, and I know that he sought out Greg Jackson for, training. John Jones is, in my opinion, the greatest MMA fighter of all time, as far as skill sets go. And so there's no better place for me to go. So, yeah, I quit my job. Basically within 2 weeks was here in Albuquerque, living in the gym, in their dome space, and training with the best in the world.
So is that really what attracted you to go down there? Of course, the likes of John Jones, Holly Holm, and of course being able to train with Greg Jackson as well too. Speak on them a little bit as like coaches, and what do they do differently that other coaches that you've worked in the past haven't done?
They coach MMA, which I don't think happens a whole lot. When you go to a gym, you do jiu-jitsu, you do Muay Thai, you do kickboxing, you do all of these forms of martial arts, but there's not a whole lot of like, this is MMA. Like, it's almost like, as an MMA fighter, I've always felt this way, but you're kind of like a conductor, and a lot of like coaches, your jiu-jitsu coach, your boxing coach, they just play their parts, and it's your job to put it together. So, this is like the first time where they're coaching specific techniques for MMA all the time. It's extremely different than when you're just learning, jiu-jitsu for jiu-jitsu, or if you're like Muay Thai gym, or you're at, a gym and we're just teaching Muay Thai for striking. So it's fantastic to get that kind of, small details that are only applicable to MMA.
Definitely. One question that I like to ask every fighter, just from a fighter's perspective, what motivates you more, coming off of a loss or coming off of a win?
I would have to say neither, because there's a quote saying that you should always take your wins and losses the same, and I try to hold true to that. Never take your highs too high, your lows too lows. So that those things like records, it's all just a reflection of the work put in. It's not necessarily, it's not everything. To me, it's not why I do it. So I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to go on the journey, and I'm going to, do it the best I can. And wins and losses, they will be what they are, and I'll be ready to accept both. So really, those aren't the things that motivate me. It's more personal things. People, the places, and things I want to do with my life that keep me, focused. And I think that's a better way to look at it than those, if you're just looking at outcomes.
Definitely. Where do you see yourself here in the next 5 years in your MMA career?
Next 5 years, that would make me 32. That's kind of where I'm thinking I will, peak physically as a fighter, mentally. I think everything's going to come together kind of around that 31, 32. You're kind of seeing it nowadays. Justin Gaethje's 31. Khabib's 30. Connor's 32. These guys in their, early 30s is kind of where Israel Adesanya is 31, 32, I think. So it's where a lot of, people are coming together. So I'm expecting that's going to be kind of my time. And I thoroughly expect to be one of the best in the world. And hopefully in contention for a world title in any promotion. Because the competition for promotions is going to be going up too. It's just been getting better and better as far as Bellator and PFL being able to compete. I don't think that we're going to be stuck with just the stuff. It's going to be just the UFC that you have to choose from. I know ONE FC is thinking about making a move over to the Americas. So, hopefully there'll be lots of opportunities, especially in 5 years. But I definitely expect to be contending for a world title.
Definitely, man. That's really cool. And another question I want to ask is, are you a religious guy at all?
Oh, well, I am. I would say I'm a spiritual guy. I wouldn't say religious, but that sounds like a sorority girl answer. So
I have to fight of this. I like to get different sides of each fighter. Like, of course, I'm a Christian Lutheran, so I like to ask all fighters, especially because a lot of them are of a Christian faith, they're Muslim, they're Jewish. I just like to get to know what their religions are and that kind of stuff too, man.
Yeah, so I definitely believe in things greater than myself, and I definitely believe in energy, an aura that like connects us all. Something that brings consciousness to the forefront for everybody. And so I do think there's things beyond what we tangibly, or really it's just like what we understand. what our brains can comprehend. So, some people call that God, people call it Allah, some people call it something. It's like that's just those are names and stories or metaphors, but it's like, I do think there's something, and I can believe that, and as long as that and it's morality and things that we want to coexist, live peacefully and harmoniously and things like that. So I definitely spiritual is the way that I kind of view that.
Okay, awesome, man. I always like to I like to ask people that kind of have a question just because of myself. I'm a religious guy. I just like to know on every other person's faith and what they think and everything like that. So it's truly a blessing. But what have you been doing during this COVID time? Have you been training at all? Have you just been doing like at home workouts, or have you been able to go to the gym and train a little bit, hit mitts, spar a little bit?
Yeah, as far as like being able to spar and things like that, that's basically not happening. For me, being able to work out, it's going on runs every other day or so. Kind of just keeping active that way. At home workouts. I will sneak in the gym and hit the bag every now and again. Or most times, that's most of like what I'll do. You got to go in the shadow box, move, and hit the bag. And being someone who's like been in combat sports my whole life, I would shadow wrestle all the time, and even when I was an early amateur, I'd shadow box for an hour or two, sweat out a couple pounds, and because you're committed, you're focused. It's really nothing as you get your mind in that zone. So it's a lot of it's very light. It's very light with the gym closed. And I think I'm kind of enjoying the stride right now because after this is over, it's going to be nose to the grindstone, and back to back to back to back. I want to fight continuously as soon as we're back up and running.
Definitely. From an MMA journalist and reporter standpoint, why should we believe you're the next big thing here in mixed martial arts today?
I think I approach the sport a little differently than a casual, tough guy fighter does. There's a lot more going on before the fight actually happens. As far as my approach, I'm very self-aware, and I think that's important as a fighter. Is you can put your ego aside. Sometimes fighters' egos kind of get in the way, and it's not happening here. It's not. There's nothing that is gonna like hinder me from putting on my best performance because there is no ego. And I come from a wrestling background. It's been super strong, and my grappling has just been kind of unique on a freak level, just because I come from a high scrambling kind of school of thought, and so my catch wrestling and submissions are second to none. I ran through my amateur career with all submissions very early, and as a professional, that's been just nothing but dominant. Since I've been back, I think I've made when I've watched my fights, I lost maybe one round on my draw. I think that's what I was for. I had a draw back in May, and I thought I won rounds 1 and 3 and lost the second, but that's the only round that I've lost since I've been back. And so it's been nothing but dominant control, and that was me being a hotel manager 50 hours a week. I wasn't training full time, I get to get in the gym maybe 3 times a week. So, yeah, this is me training all the time with world-class athletes, not at a local gym, not, jiu-jitsu 2 days a week and striking 1 day a week. That was my schedule. I was still running through professional athletes. So, this is kind of what I do. Like,
Yeah.
It's just it. It's a gift, and I'm gonna take it.
Definitely, man. Well, what do you do outside of fighting? Of course, you're in Albuquerque right now. Do you get to go around, like roam the desert a little bit, get some good sun out there? It looks like it's really nice out there all the time compared to here in Milwaukee. What do you do out there?
Yeah. So, being in a place is kind of not. I don't explore as much as people would like to think. I have like a very like focused and forward mindset. So when I was actually interviewing for a job here in Albuquerque, and the lady was talking to me about they had like a parking gate, and they're like, to protect cars. So she's like, just want to let you know that we have a parking gate that everything you have to oversee as at a hotel. And I'm like, okay. And she was like, that Albuquerque is the number one city for Grand Theft Auto, right? And I was like, oh no. In the back of my mind, I was like, I don't know anything about this. Like, no, I didn't look into it. I just need the gym and a job. Like, let's get because that's most of what I do. I'm training, at work, and that's alone 120 hours my week. So there's not a whole lot else to it when you kind of pick this lifestyle. Most time I am at home, watch TV, some shows, you play video games, and I have a bunch of time on my hands now. I have a guitar that I play as well, and that's about it. I have a dog too who's at my feet.
Oh, nice.
Pain, but so yeah, we gotta run trails and stuff, but I'm not someone who's does much of anything else outside of that.
That's awesome, man. You seem like you have a good story behind everything, and that is really cool, man, honestly. But I do appreciate you joining me today, Derek. I do appreciate that. If you have any sponsors, my man, feel free to shout them out. The floor is yours.
I do not at the time. It's kind of had a longer layoff from fighting since this happened, so I don't.
Okay, that makes it simple. I'm pretty sure you will have some here in the future. But Derek, I do appreciate you joining me today. Of course, where can they find you? You have Instagram, Twitter. Where can they find you on to follow you?
Yeah, so it's Derek Hawley MMA for both, and so on Instagram and Twitter.
Okay. Well, all right, guys, make sure you guys follow him on Twitter and Instagram. This is Matthew Putterman signing out with my MMA news. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day and stay blessed.